You have slides?
Should I have slides?
No, you shouldn't have slides. Okay, real quick. I asked Lindsay like 2 hours ago. I went over there and kneeled next to her and said, hello. Second time we've ever met in our life. I said, I know that you're not planning on this. Would you join me on stage for making money? Because I can't think of personally anyone who has more experience than Lindsay here. And so I just want to say first, thank you from the bottom of my heart for marketing us up at podcast. Because this is something that I listen to every week, every chance I get, I listen to it, and I love the stuff that you guys do. And I just wanted to say thank you for that, but also because I have a certain level of experience in what I do, but it is a linear track. I don't have the experience that Lindsay has from interviewing so many different people and just so many different series that you've done as well as why. And so if you would, for making money, and the goal here, of course, is, remember, my mountain, I want to please my fans, have them reread my books, and make money. That's right. I think that seems to be a little bit of yours as well. You seem to have very much of a love affair between Y and KU. And when the opportunity presented itself for you to go into KU, you took it, and then you were like, I'm making money. But anyway, just going back through that, I mentioned before kind of what my income is. We just looked at it with some of the other people that are in the company. So far in 2 years, yesterday was my 2-year anniversary, $2.33 million, and that's kind of across all this. So that's the company and everything else. However, I imagine I would be dwarfed by the lady next to me. And if she does, would she please tell me that she doesn't? That would be really sweet. But anyway, Lindsay, your story. Not her story at the moment.
I'll just try to put this. Let's see, I think you've done it in 2 years, but I've done it in almost 7 years. So.
A little early, but wide. You went wide. I went Amazon.
So I think that's awesome. And you're right, I have done a number of different series, and I actually made high 6 figures when I was wide with everything, from most of my Dragon Blood series. It tends to be you kind of have to have at least one series that's doing really well in any given year. And the backlist, I'm grateful for it. I'm up to about 50 books between myself and my pen name. My pen name has kind of been the big money earner this year. And then the last 6 books in that series were going. You're not going to leave me up here. All right, but
I had a question to ask you, and I'm like, well, how do I let them know what I wanted to know you? Anyway, so go ahead.
But I do think I feel it's weird being an old hand. I was just at a conference last week with Dean Wesley Smith and Chris Rush, and they've been doing this since the 80s. And so I'm still like a newbie to them, but now I published my first book in December 2010, and in the indie world, I'm kind of getting old. But I've seen like a lot of people rise and fall and disappear, and you don't know what happened to them. So I feel like with Michael, he's got this huge empire he's established, so he's probably going to be here for a while. But it's important to keep learning, and that's why we do the podcast and try to interview people each week. You don't have to be a master at everything. I am definitely not. I'm sitting here watching these Facebook things and Amazon ads, and you guys, I'm not good at this stuff at all. My biggest marketing thing is kind of like Michael, I think, just putting out the next book in a series that your fans love, and hopefully they'll tell other people about it and they'll keep doing well.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question because I really wanted to know when you did the KU and then you left it in and then you left it at 99 cents. I mean, I'm watching this. You had just stellar results. And are you willing and can you share just some of the numbers? What did that mean? Because I see ranking, but I don't know what it did for you from a monetary standpoint.
This was last year, my Fallen Empire series. It was my move into science fiction, and I kind of thought maybe I can get away with going into being exclusive to Amazon, which is a really tough decision for you to make, and especially if you got your start early before KDP Select and KU was a thing. So, and then you do have readers on the other platforms, and trust me, I get a lot of email from my books that are not available on the other platforms, and it's very frustrating to me because, like Michael says, there's a lot of money to be made in Kindle Unlimited, and it's not actually that wasn't what made me decide to do it. It was the fact that I see how hard it is to get into those top 100 categories and get that visibility when you are wide, because you have to sell each book. You can't just get them to borrow it for free. I mean, it's not free, but it's essentially free once they pay their $10 a month.
Netflix.
Right, and people, I see with my pen names all in KU that more than half of it, like 40% people buy it, 60% people borrow it, and it's just so much easier to be able to stay up in the charts and stay visible for longer in Kindle Unlimited. If you have something that's, my stuff's not even out to market, but it's there, and I use as many of the tricks as I can to sell books that aren't particularly to market.
You're constitutionally incapable of writing to market, aren't you? I mean, that's the general consensus I get from listening to the podcast.
Well, I keep saying it's not a bad idea, but I'm pretty sure if I did it would bomb, because I don't usually enjoy the books that are the most popular ones out there. It's just, I'm a quirky little individual. I like the quirky little books that don't sell anything, usually. I try to read the best-selling stuff so I can analyze it, and see what's really doing well. I'm just like, gosh, this is not for me. I'm not into these characters. It's hard.
Okay. So in that, you went through, you kept in a KU. Now, have you pulled that set out of KU yet, or is it still in?
I actually let it ride for almost a year. I was originally going to do 90 days, and if you're going to do this experiment, don't tell your readers on Barnes & Noble and Kobo and or Apple that it's only going to be 90 days. Because I started getting emails like, it's been the 90 days, why are your books not in here? Well, the books are making like 5 figures just from the borrows, not even factoring in the sales and what's going on the other sites and the other books. And it's really hard to leave when you've got a series that's doing that well. And I love the idea of being wide, and I'm still wide with most of my stuff. And I have taken that series out. I left it in for about a year. Once the rankings started to fall off, because I am a little bit of a chipmunk when I really focus on the new series and I'm really passionate about it, and then I kind of forget. Every now and then I'll like book an ad or something for the old series to try to keep the backlist selling. But after a year, I took it out and I put it in the other platforms. And because I'm also not good at networking and asking for help, I've been told you should
podcast.
You should email the guys at Kobo, email Apple, and maybe if you have a series that performs well on Amazon and KU and you're taking it to their stores, maybe they'll be excited and they'll promote it. But I never like to impose, so I just quietly stuck it up there. And I did make a first book free, which is something, it's an 8-book series, so there's a lot for them to go on and buy. And that's something that's really been helpful to me. Throughout the years going wide, it is hard. Now you have to kind of market the free book. You can't just throw it out there and the world will discover it. But it's still my favorite way to get people to read my stuff, because I do like a longer series, not as long as Michael, but I usually end up with 8 or 10 books in the series. And if you get them hooked on that one, then there's a whole bunch more you can sell them at full price.
Okay, so I'm going to teach Lindsay Buroker, Lindsay Buroker something. So sci-fi, right? How many sci-fi-ish writers do we have here today? How many are willing to promote book 1 for Lindsay Buroker just as an opportunity to say, hey, thank you for everything you do for our community? Thank you. That's how you do it.
You're much better at it. It's so scary to ask for things, and then you're in their debt. It's so scary.
Well, I'm just, shoot. No, so anyway, you're making money, things that are going on. One of the things that you need to remember is that when you make money, you're going to have just as many concerns emotionally as when you don't make money, because all of a sudden you're going to be worrying, is this going to stop? Yeah, so I already hear some people, oh yes, that's true. And Jamie, I see you moving your head up and down. So when you had it, you started back 2010, 2011. You were actually already an internet marketing person. So I presume you had some money, you had some different funnels coming in, and then all of a sudden you started going. When did you start getting to the point, or did you ever get to the point where you're like, I'm worried about the next paycheck or the next month or something?
I didn't quit the day job, as you say, until well, that's not true actually. I kind of checked out of the day job a long time before I could really quit it fully. But I was actually been self-employed since 2001, but I was writing about home improvement and home security systems and stuff that you could make money promoting through affiliate links and make money from Google AdSense. So that was the old day job, and I thought I knew everything. I was like, oh, I know, I can sell stuff online. But it's been a learning experience for sure. I didn't know anything about the book publishing world up until almost 2011. I was going to get an agent. That's just what you do. And hope New York would pick you up. But as far as ups and downs, and it was nice talking to Chris and Dean because they've had huge ups, they've had huge downs, and that's kind of what happens with the career of a writer. And I expect any time this will all go away, you know what I mean? Or it may take a big hit. So that's just kind of, I don't try to, not buying. I buy my house with cash, I buy my cars with cash, just waiting so because I don't want to have any debt or anything that I have to worry about too much. But I think if you have that attitude and don't just expect it to keep meteorically, that's a word, keep it rising forever.
It's a good thing we're authors.
Yeah, thank goodness for writing, you guys. Talking is so hard. But if you're able to, when it's a good time, spank it. And then you won't be as worried about getting into buying rental properties because I want to always have that, not to worry about it from month to month. And then if things get bad, then I've got this. And then you can just write whatever you want to. One of the things when you do have some success with the series is you're like, I have to keep writing the same series forever if I don't have another one. Poor R.A. Salvatore has been doing Dris Stewardin since I was like middle school, which was a little while ago now, because it's so great. The fans love it, and that's where the money is. And it's a little sad sometimes when you try something else that you love and it doesn't take off. But I think that's just part of being an author. It's not always going to be great times, so you got to plan for the worst.
Yeah, so some of the things that we looked at whenever we were moving into the lab, so my first full year was $600K. So my second, and that didn't have much from the standpoint of marketing to get there. So the next year I had made the goals to be doing at least $150K myself a month and $100K in collaboration. We have not hit the $150K myself, but we have hit the $100K in collaboration and moving forward from that. So when you're looking at your ability to make money, and some of the people that have asked me about being able to do collaborations, to be able to do universes, to be able to do shared worlds, you have to look at also your expenses. So one of the things I was having a discussion a little bit earlier about was, is it that I'm passionate about a particular project, or is this project actually just a product? And I'm sorry, but not every single one of my products or projects will be something I'm really passionate about. I'm willing to sit there as anathema to somebody, but I'm totally willing to look into something that I think is really cool, really fun, but isn't a universe that I'm going to create. And so I will be willing to say, okay, what's a particular cover that is going to be quality, but not, I'm not spending $1,500 or $800 for it. So that's just my mentality of looking there to say, I know that people are going to have fun reading this. I write pulp fiction, not literary by any stretch of the imagination. So from the standpoint of where you can get, I've seen it all. I've been successful with covers that cost me $20 to buy the licensing right, and I'm not a Photoshop person. If you ever saw my first early covers, you would agree as well. But those covers ended up making $10,000 in the first 90 days in that third month. And we went on to 14 and 18 and then 20-something thousand, even though we had those covers just by the strength of the story and the fans that were talking to each other. I have gone through the piece of, is this going to continue? And then I did tests with short stories to figure out if we could get into different genres and made a little bit of money with them, but the concept was, it was marketing that made me money. I moved into a new little genre under 2 hours. I'm making money, but I'm also gathering new fans that are going back into the main series. So when you're thinking about it from a money standpoint, just realize first, there's no top. J.K. Rowling, multi-billionaire, even though some of it is from movies and the other stuff, that's fine. But from her book sales themselves, it dwarfs, obviously, my income. So think of it from that standpoint. There is no rise, but as you go up, just be aware of the emotional trips, if you will, and talk to some of the people so that you know what's coming and you start getting yourself, because otherwise, it's been proven, your subconscious can sabotage you because it's not comfortable with where you're at. And so be aware of that. So have you had, just during these years, I know that you've focused on a lot of different things, but is there something that you might say from just a wisdom standpoint? Because I think you've been successful 3 years, 4? What would you say?
I've been six figures for 6 years now.
Okay.
The first 3 were low, like 1 in 2000, and the last 3 have been much higher.
Okay. So from that standpoint, you're it. If we looked at you from a standpoint of what a particular person received from traditionally publishing, and let's say they get 15%, even at $300,000, that's selling $2 to $3 million worth of books. So that's pretty substantial. And looking at it from the standpoint of what you encourage others, or you've heard on the podcasts, what are some of the issues that maybe from a money standpoint, and by the way, I just totally sideswiped her and said, hey, would you come up here? So giving you a little bit, hopefully, time to think. What do you think some of the biggest concerns are with the guests that you've had on Marketing SF5?
Well, some of the just basic money things are kind of, you go from, I'm just this little sole entrepreneur to eventually, that's what we're talking about at the last conference, how to form your C corporation so that you're not giving half of your money back to your giving half your money back in taxes. But I think a lot of what people, what you think about for the longevity is, at the core of it, you want to make sure you're writing stories that people love. I know that seems obvious, but it's really easy to go, oh, well, writing to market is really good right now, or, urban fantasy has this, I was just listening to them talk about some of the tropes in there, and getting it wrapped up and like, oh, I need to write something that can become a hook on Facebook. And that's not bad. I definitely pay attention to the market stuff, obviously. That's why we try to interview people that are doing really well out there. But at the core of it, writing good stories, having a few series, I think that it's good to not, or like you guys are doing with many different possible book ones that can lead into your world. I say, like, don't put your day job just off of one series, because I've now seen that you can only keep it going for a while, and then eventually somebody else is hot on Amazon and other things are selling. So if I had to just do it over again, I'd kind of do the universe where everything is, all of your stuff is kind of in the same universe, because I think that's a great way to get your fans to go over to the other side. But I'm actually not that great at marketing. No surprise there. Despite having the show, we have it on so we can interview really smart people. And I know you probably have a lot of notes and stuff, especially on the Amazon and the Facebook ads. And know that you don't have to be great. I don't spend that. I think I looked and I spent $12,000 on Facebook ads ever. So there's people out there that will spend 30 to make 50, and that's fine. But you don't have to do everything right. It's like you don't.
I'm happy to hear that.
But you don't have to get it all right, so don't stress about that. You kind of find the thing that you're really interested in, like Brian Meeks is like, man, I love this data, this is so exciting. And I was like, oh man, data. As long as I'm making more each month than I'm spending, I figure I'm doing pretty good. But, you don't have to get it all right. Just the mailing list is super important, so that if anything ever does happen, you can get to your fans, and suddenly you need to sell your books off your website, or maybe you do a Patreon, and, you have other ways. Because there's been some things happening lately on Amazon that are scaring people a little bit, so it can be a little scary. I think everybody's getting their account back if they were wrongfully accused with this stuff, but it makes you think a little bit if they're suddenly threatening to take all your money away.
I have a question that is slightly off topic, but everyone who's here is concerned with the KU going up and down. Does it bug you, keep you up at night? So, okay, quite a few. Here's some of my thoughts on Kindle Unlimited, because I approached the Amazon people at Neek and asked them this question, and interestingly enough, they seemed to have no clue what I was talking about. So I asked them the question, I came up, and we're talking some high-level individuals, and I said, it would be really nice if Amazon would come out with just an explanation that would let us know if Kindle Unlimited is going to continue. I didn't have as much concern myself, but I'd seen it in the 20Books group. And they're like, well, what are you talking about? And I said, well, there's a lot of, and I'm thinking to myself the whole time, you're telling me no one in Amazon looks at K-boards or 20Books or any of the other ones. I didn't ask that because it seemed a little much, but what they said was, well, I don't understand. And notice he never answers my question. He said, we're really surprised at this because look at how much we invest in new software and new interfaces and new, each month we give more and more money into it. And so it was a non-answer answer, and I can understand a little bit of what they're saying. But here's my reason for believing Kindle Unlimited can come around and continue for a while. And once again, not like Amazon has told me jack. But when I was in affiliate sales, maybe I can ask this, who here gets at least $1,000 a month from affiliate sales? Okay, so how much does it tell you that they sold for you to get that $1,000? A lot. So 10,000, 15,000, somewhere in that range, right? Okay, who here is affiliate of any some sort at all? Holy crap. Okay, how many here do ads and drive to Amazon and they're not affiliate set up? Not as many. Holy crap. So affiliate wins. But here's my point. I don't know how much you spent to get the $1,000, but you sold $15,000, right? They received a large portion of that because they went to your book or books or whatever. And we saw how many raised their hands. So we're all driving business to Amazon, and your click-through rate, your actual purchase rate, what, 2 to 4%, 10%, whatever that is? I don't even know the number, I should. But my point being, we are driving advertising there, and they are reaping the benefits, and that money is going right back into Kindle Unlimited. And unlike Oyster or some of the others, they didn't have this ability to make money off of it. Is this making sense what I'm trying to express? Yeah, no?
You don't think Kindle Unlimited is going away?
Oh, well, yes. In a short thing, I don't think it's going away, but the reason I think is there's a business reason for it. We drive business to Amazon. And the more that we do, then they can just turn around and fund it because it's essentially a marketing expense for them. And so that was my piece. And of course, anyone goes into Kindle, they get the Amazon name. Just look at it as a marketing perspective. That's my take.
I can see why people, where they would be concerned when the money goes up and down.
Yeah.
The payout rate, it is concerning, and I think that's why a lot of people want to be wide, at least in some capacity. And there's nothing wrong with waiting until your series dies down and you've moved on to something else. Just saying, some people up here might have done that.
Do you like you?
Possibly, and I'm probably going to put my next trilogy in Kindle Unlimited because, like I said, it's less about the money and more about you're not. It's so hard to get visibility and sales on Amazon right now if you're not in there. Who knows if the mechanics will always work the same? I am perplexed as to why they don't have this. Here's the top 100 free. Here's the top 100 paid. Here's the top 100 borrowed. But they didn't ask me. I don't know. And right now, as long as you can take advantage of it, why not take advantage of it? And you can always experiment with some older series or something if you do want to go wide. I mentioned in the sci-fi panel that I'm very comforted by the fact that I make enough from Apple, Kobo, and Barnes & Noble that I can I can continue to make a living and pay all my bills and get my fancy dog food for my dog. So it's a very nice place to be. And but of course, Amazon is still a big kahuna for me too. And I hope nothing happens and that we're able to keep doing things that we're doing and get in that 70%. And I have the love-hate relationship with KU, but if I can take advantage of it, I definitely will. And you'll have to see, every year there's something new you can take advantage of in the indie world if you're paying attention. And each time you try to add a few people to your mailing list, a few more fans that really enjoy your work and will follow you no matter what happens and no matter where you're selling it.
Yeah. So we have about 19 minutes left. We can either talk or you guys can ask questions. Do y'all have a preference? Talk? Any others? We're going to continue talking. Okay. Now that I wasted one more minute. So, yeah. Do you have a preference to what you want me to talk about?
When you decided to set up your universe and
Yes.
go with your collaborators, I'm going to guess the answer is control. But why did you choose to do it yourself rather than going into Kindle Worlds?
Okay, the question is, why did I do my universe myself versus Kindle Worlds? And the guess is control. And part of the reason is there were some ladies at a meeting in November in Austin that just surrounded me and threatened to lynch me if I went to Kindle Unlimited. This was at a stone table from the SAS guys, but effectively what happened is there's a lot more control and it really doesn't make a lot of sense if I intend to facilitate it from my perspective, right? So if it's not going to be hands-off, which I wasn't going to allow, then I can go worldwide, I can change prices, I can do all of these things. I didn't see or I hadn't heard of very many opportunities within Kindle Worlds that really facilitated much unless it was just kind of I'd love to ask Russell Blake if what he does with his world, and I'm not sure yours world is actually old enough to answer some of this.
I think you started the collaboration thing after I'd already signed the Kindle World thing, but once I found out like people that write for you in Kindle Worlds, they can't be in Kindle sale in the Amazon US store, and I'm like, how do I market this to my readers? They want to try these new authors they've never heard of, so the borrow system would be great for that. And it certainly hasn't been a big moneymaker for me. I finally earned back my level advance that they gave me, but you know, you have to do a lot more work, which I'm not a person that just wants to be in my little hole and write my books.
Well, talk to me. We'll see about that operations part. We'll help you.
All right. Well, it tires me out just listening to you talk about all this stuff you're doing. I'm like, oh man, that sounds awful. And it's so good for him, but it sounds so awful for me.
Yeah. So thank you for your question. Yes? Concept? Yes, so I came from the question is, can I go over the minimally viable product concept? And this is something that has pissed off a lot of people because they thought that when I said minimally viable, I meant unedited, everything, and throw out trash. Now, to some degree, it was unedited and it wasn't necessarily really great. I was a lot more ignorant then, and I frankly wasn't really willing to pay a lot of effort if I was going to go nowhere and lose 5 or 100 or whatever it was. I just didn't know. Right? So, nor did I know how hard it would be to go back and edit it if you're trying to get a book out a month. So that was challenging for me as well. But the concept behind it was, how do you tell whether or not a story is going to resonate and is going to sell and put everything into it? You heard Scott Paul yesterday talk about when he put a book out and then it sold 6,000 copies. My question was, when are you putting out the next book? You need to get right on that. And you've heard on podcasts before, people explain to you that I put a book out and it did wonderful, and I had 4 months, and everything was good, and then it finally started going down, and I need to start writing the next book, and it's out in 3 more months, and then they have nobody. Crickets. And so that's part of the velocity that I was doing. But on the minimally stuff, I look at it this way. If I wanted to know if my story had any legs, this is the version 3 of it. I would write 3,000 words and I'd give it to readers, not my uncle, not my aunt, not my mom, not my brother, unless they were part of that genre or something. And then I would find out just 1, 2, or 3. 1, what's the next piece? 2, that was good, but if I don't see the next piece of this, I'm fine. And 3 is I never even finished it. So you go back to the one with the 3,000 words, and then when you have something that works for you like that, then you might be onto something, and you keep building. I had said at one point that maybe instead of 3 books of 70,000 words that I had done in the beginning, I might break it up into 3 books of 20,000 words because Amazon doesn't tell us how far you get through before they stop reading. So I just broke one book down and said, do it this way. Scott Paul ended up putting up for $2.99 and made thousands of dollars. So that was just the genesis of me trying to find out, how could I find a product that would sell? That was what I wanted to know. And when Pythagorean Gambit took off, and which it didn't take off really until kind of book 5. Book 4 was like I hit $300 a day, and my jaw dropped. And so my second month was $3,600 or something like that. And then it just kept going up. And all of a sudden now I'm making $12,000, a month, and it kept going. And so you're onto something. But the question came, what about the ones that, like the authors I supported? As a reader, I could read some of them, and I'm like, I'm not feeling this. And I realized I didn't have to read the whole book to figure out I didn't want to go on. And so as Kindle Unlimited, we all heard, you open it up, you're going to read a few pages, and they're done. They're on to the next one. So if that isn't happening, you need to do something about it. Even right now, within our own group, we're looking at some of our books and going, you know what? These stories are a lot better than this. And Martha is going to talk about it a little bit tomorrow. She went back, redid book 0, mushed it up with book 1, and we re-released it as book 1 because we realized that first book, while selling really well, could sell better based on her experience with books later. We have that option. Now, mind you, we might not want to go back and rewrite anything in the earlier series.
I have a question about the exclusive versus wide. A recent keyboard post that I thought was really interesting was someone made the argument that it's not so much Amazon versus all the other stores, it's more about Amazon versus direct sales, going direct as opposed to going wide, because Barnes & Noble, Kobo, all these alternative storefronts don't have the type of discovery that Amazon has. So if you're spending advertisements, sending people to, or marketing money, sending people to these lesser stores, you might as well be sending them directly to your webpage so you can get all the conversion data and all that other stuff. And you can also sell versions that work on like a Nook, Photo Reader, Google Play, things of that nature. So I want to know your thoughts on doing Amazon versus direct as opposed to Amazon versus Wyatt.
Sure. We've actually just talked about this on our podcast, and we know almost nobody that's actually making money selling books on their website that are also available in the stores. A couple reasons: the payment system. Amazon already has a credit card, so it's a one-click thing for people. And although Damon's here from BookFunnel, I think he'll probably talk about it tomorrow. Up until recently, it's a lot more steps for the reader too. And so you do get really cool people that they'll email me and ask me, what is the best way for me to buy your books so that you make the most money? And we've seen people do Patreon and that kind of thing, so doing bonus and extra stuff on their website. And I love the idea of you do have to become, in most cases, kind of the customer service person if you're selling direct. Because I did something where I sold ARCs for like $10 for a book Cliffhanger, the book after a cliffhanger in a series, and it worked really well, but I had to answer all these emails and, why isn't this link working? How do I get this book on my Samsung thing that I've never even heard of before, So I think maybe that the future might be that as it becomes easier and easier for people to just buy it with one click, with their payment information is already entered into PayPal or whatever, so it's easy for them.
Like PayPal and Google Wallet, Apple Pay and stuff, where people already have their stuff in there as a way to offer that through your website. I'm just wondering, how valuable is the data of here's my conversion rate versus this marketing versus sending directly to Amazon?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's coming and it's getting easier and easier, and it would be super valuable to have an email list, not just the people who are on your list and like your stuff, but people spend $10 for an e-art copy, because those are going to be your super fans, the ones that if you ever do, I don't know if you ever need to do a Kickstarter or something, I need to make $50,000, I'm making a movie out of my book. Those are the people you want to email because you already know they'll spend decent money for you.
Yeah, I would probably add to that the way I would look at it as a publisher is I'm going to say, okay, what do I get by giving Amazon 30%? And they're going to do a lot of support. BookFunnel, once again, Damon right behind you is going to speak to this, and until recently, it's been very difficult for us to be able to do that. So I'm always constantly looking at, where's my payoff? Why did I choose Amazon versus going wide? For me, it was because it's where most of the sales happen, and I don't have to try to push out to all of them. You have Draft to Digital. Dan Wood is here. He can speak to the ability to actually going out to multiples as well, but they draw readers into it. So if you're not on Amazon with your book, right, assuming Kindle Unlimited, but you could, then yeah, okay, advertise to your local if it's not that much of a problem, or if you enjoy it. That's not me. I don't want to do customer support. So I would either go to Damon and BookFunnel, or I would choose another one, but at the moment, we are strictly Amazon focused ourselves because our operations are such, not to bore you, but our operations are such that we're getting out 14, 15, 16 books a month, 5 to 6 audiobooks, and we're looking at where can we make the most effective use of our time and selling it on our website. And then I don't know how many people's websites go down all the damn time, where you have problems with it. It's like, yeah, it's not something I care to mess with. So it's just one less responsibility for me. Yes, thank you. Yes.
Okay. Could you speak to balance and author burnout? And because the way you guys talk, to me, it's just a little intimidating, and I'm like, oh, I'd love to do that, but I've got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, so I'm just wondering, do you feel like it's possible for somebody who's part-time writing to reach a lot of readers? I mean, maybe not make 7 figures, but I don't know.
Well, yes, it is feasible because you can do it with one book, right?
Well, yeah.
So, yes, absolutely feasible. Now, practical, or would I say that in general most people would do it? No, I've suffered through issues. I worked through issues of burnout myself, and it was, it's hard, and if it wasn't for the fact that I'm really competitive, especially with myself, where last month was doing this, or was going up, and now I'm going down, I'm like, I want to go back up again. So I'm competitive that way, so that helped a little bit. But even this latest book that I had, a 3rd book in a series, if it wasn't for bringing in a collaborator, I probably wouldn't have got it done in time. Because it's just like, I didn't want to write it. And like, I adamantly didn't want to write it, and it was just murder. So bring in the collaborator and get a really good book out, and the fans are happy, and give up a chunk of change. But you know what? I made it through. You've done a bunch. Go for it.
But actually, I don't have little kids, so or older kids. And I always tell people that, like, well, I get to do this full time, so that definitely helps. But I have known people who have written like 4 novels a year that have a full-time job and little kids at home, so I know it's possible. You know, and a lot of folks gotta like, set their alarm to get up at 4 a.m. or maybe your writing time is at night after everybody goes to bed. And if you haven't read Rachel Marion's book, 2K to 10K, that's a great book to read, so that when you actually do find your like half hour or hour a day that you can sit down and write, boy, you can make that productive because you already know exactly what's going to happen. You've got the scene ready in your head, and you just forward, and you're not on Facebook and messing around on Twitter. As far as burnout goes, you know, I keep saying I'm going to slow down, and maybe I'll only do 6 novels next year. I don't know, but I don't know. I'm one of those people who always has so many ideas, and because I have the 2 names that I write under, and I'm in just a few different subgenres of sci-fi and fantasy. I'm just always like, I might get a little tired over here of a space opera today, but now I'm so excited to get back my dragons and my fantasy, and for now I just have so many ideas in my head. I'm so excited to write them that it's really hard for me to slow down. I try to take vacations. I don't know if you're the same way. I'm like,
Bali in 2019.
That's not a vacation, that's a working retreat. But I do manage about 3 days of not working, and then I'm just like, wow, I'm just slacking off here. I need to do something. So, you know, I just think it's finding your motivation to really, you know, sometimes things have to be like super sucky for some people, for them to like, I gotta make something work so I can quit this job, or I don't have a job and I have to figure out how to pay the bills. So just finding your motivation to really keep going is huge, I think.
And then I'd like to we're getting kind of close to the end here, but one of the things that we wanted to say during this keynote at a certain level is there's a lot of money to be made. I can make it, you can make it. It's the same thing that Honore said yesterday. There's nothing more special about me. I happened to clue into a certain thing, and I understood and saw velocity, and then I moved toward it because I was a reader that has read thousands of books in my life. How many else here have read thousands of? Okay, you can do it. That's what 20 Books is all about. Now, originally, my goal was just to make $7.50 a book a day and retire in Cabo. I'm going to retire in Cabo, but I make more than $7.50 a day, except on my omnibuses. I don't make much on those. I don't know what the deal's going on. I've tried to talk to Michael Cooper. He's explained it to me. I think I'm just going to chain him and make him set my stuff up for me. But really, though, the answer is there. We have taken them in LNBPN. We have taken everyone who hasn't written a book at all and hasn't read fiction since they were 12. And we've taken people who are 30 years traditionally published and that weren't having the success, and we were able to help both of them rise up. Candy Crumb, 8.5 years, unsuccessful. She just wrote a post yesterday, and it was really heartwarming. I didn't know she was going to do this, but she wrote it, and she's basically saying, "This is my story. Don't stop." So the question really is the question is not, can I make money? We've done it with people. There are people all over this place right now who's made shit tons of money. Shane, can I call you out? Yes? Would you tell us a little bit about your story? Yeah. Just come here. Come here. Go ahead.
So my name is Shane Silvers. I write urban fantasy. I published the first book in 2012. Crap cover. The book was good, but crap cover, poor editing. And then 2015 I did the sequel. And then 2016 I started listening to Mark Dawson, Nick Stevenson, and I started looking at the business side of it. And so basically January through June of 2016, I really focused on the website, getting professional covers, basically everything that Michael talks about. Basically June of 2016, I started activating Facebook ads, new covers, new books, publishing every 3 months. And I hit 5 figures a month within 2 months of doing that. And it's only exponentially increased since then. But it's basically by doing everything you're talking about. It's Facebook ads, it's finding new audiences, beta teams, Facebook groups, just really engaging in everything you do. And the money is there. I mean, there was months when I did $10 a month, $20 a month, back in 2015, 13, 14, and I didn't ever imagine that I'd be able to do anything like Michael.
But you are.
Yeah, but I am. So I left my job, commercial loan officer, left my job April 1st, 2017 this year, do this full time.
Lindsay goes, am I done? Can I leave? Hell no. No, not at all. So really, I mean, you think about it, that's a gentleman who worked for, what, 5 years, Shane? 5 years, $10 a month. And some of you I know that I've talked to have had no books out yet. It's your plan, right? So that's zero. Got to hit publish. You know, I talked to Krishan Keller-Hannah one time, and she wouldn't publish. And I'm like, push the fucking button. You know, life begins on the other side of pushing the button because you can't know what you need to fix. And a lot of us will need to fix stuff, and so did I, until you push the fucking button. So it's almost like, you know, next year, Craig, let's have a t-shirt. Push the fucking button.
Yes.
And move on, because your success is on the other side of that button. We've done it. We have stories of people doing it. We have stories of people who would love to help you do it and connect. That's what this is all about, once again, because it's going to be just as much as what we're talking about, but even more. I was talking to one lady earlier today, name withheld, because, once again, I can't remember shit. It's just true. But the conversation was related to trying to facilitate and help collaborations based on what she was doing. So I asked the question, how many books a month does this particular series sell on release? The answer was 300. Okay, typically speaking, your fans, about half of them will move on. That means 150 books, right? So, I'm just kind of curious, who would like to be able to almost be guaranteeing 150 books their first month out with a book? Okay, so the lady I was talking to, you just had 45 people or more raise your hand. That explains the power of working with each other, and we move from there. And I'm at 3, 2, 1, Craig. I'm not going to dance.
Day 2, how about that, huh? A little bit of fire hose today, especially regarding marketing, because of both Brian Meeks and Michael Cooper. I see we have a trend. If you're a data geek, you talk really, really fast. So a lot of information. You can always go back and review it. Louis Carr has been recording these. They've been live streamed and are on the 20Books Vegas Facebook page. I'll copy them over to the 20Books to 50K page as well. You'll be able to watch them in either place for perpetuity. So if you need a reminder, pull those back up and take a look. The handouts are, check your newsletter, check your emails, because if you're in here, you should be getting the newsletter each morning. If you're not, check your spam folder. If you're not, then you probably are in the wrong place and should be at the car shop. Did you mean to talk to authors? We have one raffle?
Just one.
We have one raffle for a full copy edit of a book, 60, 80,000 words, whatever, from Tim Marquitz. He's an editor that I use, and he's good. He's very good.
Okay.
20Books gear. This is your 20Books gear raffle.
And tomorrow, you're going to, look at this, there aren't very many in here. Tomorrow, you're going to want to wear your gear, bring your gear. You want the prize tomorrow, for sure. I'm just saying.
And I want to thank all the guest speakers today. We had a large list, a long list of guest speakers. talked about craft, we talked about marketing, we talked about all kinds of good stuff, blurbs, and we chewed the fat a bit. The breakout sessions, the UF, how many people were in the UF session? Was that standing room only? Was it packed?
Both were standing room only. I had to go get chairs from the other ones.
Beautiful. That's a great thing. Thank you. And I talked to catering today and walked on Samstown 1 year from today, November 2nd through the 4th. That weekend we will be here next year. And at the same time, we're also looking elsewhere for 2 years from now, find a place that might be a little more accommodating for, say, about 1,000 people. Next year, we'll talk to catering again for next year. We're probably going to do away with the back rows of tables and have chairs because we'll probably have, I'm thinking about 600, 650 next year as opposed to 450 this year. The success, the stories that you're sharing will drive people to come because this is the place to be. These are the people to talk to. This is your peer group. Look around. You see Shane Silvers has a great story. He's your peer. You're a writer. He's a writer. He's done some things differently. Michael Cooper is successful. Same 3 books for years, and all of a sudden he figured out marketing, and now he's a 5-figure author. He's a 6-figure annual author. You can't beat that. Looking at your ticket, if your name is John Heinmarsh, you have just won a from Tim Marquis. A full book bag. And John didn't start writing until he was about 70, and I believe, how many books do you have right now, John? 9. And he started when he was 70. Tomorrow we have at 8 a.m., which is about 6 hours after you all get up, Michael Anderle talking about series arcs, beats, and emotion. He talked a lot about emotion. Every time he talks about his characters and getting that emotional link with the readers. That's what Max Drake talked about. The emotional connection with your readers. That's what it takes to keep them coming back for more. Martha Carr will talk about launch day marketing. And then we have a trifecta of Dan Wood from D2D, Christine Monroe from Kobo, and Damon Courtney from BookFunnel talking about going wide. And that will be the last session. At 10:45, we'll have as many guest speakers are still here. Come on up on stage and it'll be all questions. Bring your question, think about what you want to ask them, and ask the questions, and we'll talk about that. 11:30, we'll work on the wrap-up. 2 final raffles tomorrow for fabulous prizes. Kate Pickford has the ultimate raffle prize. A full developmental edit worth $2,000, and that is the ultimate prize, and that's for everybody. That's not a 20 Books gear raffle. Everybody have a great evening.